My name is Dr. Robert L. Screen Sr. I'll be your facilitator for tonight. I want to thank all and every one of you for being a part of this meeting. We hopefully it will be enlightening and in the matters concerning Indian Head Highway Route 210. I see Miss Katie Nash. She's come on board. I thank you, Miss Nash, for being here with us as well. We have, I guess, I would say I would like to say a very important meeting tonight because information that we have, I think all of you will find some measure of enlightenment regarding matters of Indian Head Highway, regarding our bill HB 974, and also other things regarding cameras, and just a general state of affairs that I think all of us can take note and have a sense of awareness and enlightenment for the happenstance since we've last met. Let me just make sure for a moment. Well, I'll get to that a little later. But let me, as we normally do in our, I guess, our presentations, we'd like to start off with our 7th District representative for the Fort Washington Prince George's County Police Department. And for tonight, we will have Lieutenant David Ruiz, who will be presenting instead of Captain Martin. But I know Lieutenant Ruiz is waiting at the bits to give us some good information because we've had some interesting things that have happened of late on Indian Head Highway that I think all of us can take note and find enlightening. So, Lieutenant Ruiz, I'll turn it over to you and let you enlighten us to what has happened in the last 30 days of your notations of report to give us.
Well, good evening, everybody. Yes, I just wanted to update everyone on our enforcement efforts that have gone on Indian Head Highway. And I'll just start out with the totals and then I'll break it down operationally, to our joint operation that we had earlier in the month. So for the month year to date, we've had 728 traffic stops. Of that, 386 were citations that were issued. And then we had 1,028 warnings issued since the beginning of the year, as well as 108 safety equipment repair orders. And in addition to that, we've also had 785 pedestrian contacts, meaning where officers handed out flyers to individuals to, giving them, advice on that they should cross at intersections, wear visible clothing and other safety reminders, especially for pedestrians. As you know, we've had several pedestrians, more so inside the Beltway, struck than outside the Beltway. And then in terms of what Reverend Screen was devising here earlier, at the beginning of the month, we had a joint operation that we teamed up with Maryland State Police for an enforcement that was on March 6th. And it started early that morning, about 7:30 in the morning. And these were the results that I'm going to give you now, and I'm going to break it down by this operation. During that day, 130 traffic stops were made, 71 citations were issued, 162 warnings were issued, and 19 equipment repair orders for a total of 252 citations for that day. And then if you break it down, because they had their commercial motor vehicle inspectors out there as well, they performed, Maryland State Police themselves performed 13 vehicle and truck inspections. They took 4 drivers out of service. They took 1 truck out of service for being overweight. And additionally, they took 3 other vehicles out of service for whatever reasons. They may have been mechanical or something like that. And an added bonus to that, Captain Martin was also out there along with us, and he happened to make a traffic stop. And due to the citations that they were going to issue, they were going to impound the car. And as a result of the impound inventory, 13 pounds of marijuana was also seized during that traffic stop. So it was a pretty successful day overall.
would say so. And that's in addition to whatever the cameras were reporting for that time period. I understand it was about 4 hour operation. Am I correct on that,
That's
Lieutenant
it
Reed?
was longer than that.
Yes, it ran from about 7:30 that morning till noon.
Okay,
So it's about 4.5 hours, but state police was still out there for a little while afterwards,
okay,
but more so down closer to the Beltway at that time.
okay,
So we don't know if there were additional, but they just provided us their statistics up through our joint operation time.
okay. Okay. And I think you have something for us in terms of the future, in terms of joint operation, in terms of when we can
Yeah.
look at the next one.
Yes, there's another planned joint operation with Maryland State Police, you know, based on availability, it'll be April 23rd.
Okay,
But we don't know how many more of those we're gonna have because now that the agency's shifting to 12-hour shifts and our overlap, which allowed us to have enforcement days like these, are going away. So we're gonna have to adjust or figure out how we can continue with this, even though with us, our special operations, their motors unit and traffic units do spend time out there as well, which in our stats, they started providing us with those numbers again, and that's why you see additional, or probably the totals have gone up a lot since the beginning of the year.
okay. Usually I reserve all the questions for the end of, once our presentation. I just want to ask you this particular one. How do you assess in your, I guess, operational experience, knowing that we have the history that we've had on Indian Head Highway, knowing that we have 3 active cameras, in addition to the presence of both Prince George's County Police and Maryland State Police. What is your overall read on that day when you look at the sum totals of what your citations numbers, again with a roadway highway that has again 3 active cameras, putting all that together, what is your read on that day? What is it telling you in the long run, long or short run, of what you participated in, or what the operational enforcement officers, what they participated in? What's your read on that?
Well, what you tend to see is kind of based on individual's work cycle because as you notice, 210 is a very busy highway. And generally in the morning hours, the northbound traffic is heavy. So speeding isn't as common. Well, it's more so near the Charles County line, but as you get closer, you pass Berry Road and you're making your way up toward East Swan Creek, then the traffic gets heavier, so the speeds go down. So a lot of these warnings that were issued were mainly for other violations, not so much speed. And I think and I think the other factor is too, because on Nextdoor and some of these other places, that you saw the comments, there must be half of PG County out on 210 that day. So I guess the word gets around and they see so many cruisers out there between us and MSP, it also brings down the speed because of the visibility. Unlike with the cameras, most of the time they don't notice until they're right on top of them. They hit the brakes and then they're off and running. Here, with us spread out from the Charles County line all the way to the Beltway, you just don't know where you're going to encounter another officer.
And these were mostly plain cars that were being utilized.
But it's actually a mix.
Okay.
Marked state police and unmarked state police, along with marked and unmarked county vehicles.
Okay. Okay. I hope you can hang around because I'm sure there will be others that want to ask a question. I'll ask you this one here from Ms. Huggins. It says, were the number of citations and stops higher than in other areas? I think that's what she wanted to know.
In higher area, as in the county, I wouldn't know because we only track for our division.
Okay, but I mean, I guess she wants to know, was that kind of like commonplace, or did it look like it was kind of set apart, that as best you know, or?
Well, I'm trying to understand the question, but based on what it sounds like to me, uh, for us, it's common to have
Hey, Mr.
traffic
Earl.
stops on two ten because of the
Cooking dinner?
traffic there and the number of complaints that we
Yeah.
get. So that's generally why our traffic numbers, because we also in our daily stats, each shift provides us how many traffic stops they perform, if possible, depending on, calls for service along 210 and those outside the 210 corridor. So generally along the 210 corridor, we do have higher numbers of traffic stops than in the other roadways.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, if you can hang around, Lieutenant Ruiz, I'm sure there are others that want to ask some questions, but like I said, normally we try to get through our presentations first. I wanted to just get that in for a couple of reasons that'll make apparent themselves. It'll be apparent a little later on as we go through our presentations. But thank you so much for that. Were there any other things that you wanted to add before we go to the next presenter?
No, that's pretty much it on our end with anything regarding 210.
Okay, well, thanks again for that. That is very enlightening. I think most of us, the chatter on the next door, as he Lieutenant Reese said, uh, it was a lot that was going on in result of that, and most of the comments I happened to see were very positive in being able to see the enforcement out there. You got kudos from a lot of different people. So again, we'll get to that a little bit later for other comments, I'm sure. So thank you, sir, for that report. Thank you for your service there.
Thank you.
I'd like to go right to our next presenter, Mr. Peter Kapanides. And Peter, I know in the last 30 days, there's probably been a lot that has happened. At least I hope it has been some things that you can report to us in terms of the flex posts and other matters that have come up in the last 30 days. So I'll turn it over to you. This one to present to our audience. This is Peter Kapanides, our representative from the State Highway Administration, and Peter has been with us again. Always repeat this because I like to speak about his faithfulness to this committee, the 210 Traffic Safety Committee, being with us all the 7 years that we have been up and running. Well, so Peter knows us well. He knows this area well. And so, Peter, we're thankful for your faithfulness and your due diligence in getting things done for us here in this community. So I'll turn it over to you, Peter, for whatever report that you have for us for this time period.
Thank you, Reverend Screen. Good evening, everyone. Wanted to share that I have been getting feedback, particularly from Ron and from Reverend Screen regarding comments on the traffic calming treatments that were installed along along 210 between the Charles County line and Maryland 228. And we've been, we understand, some of the concerns that the residents have raised. We had a concern that we're addressing right now on I believe it was Pine Drive, where the line of sight is limited because of where the quick curb was installed. So we're looking into that. We see what's actually happening, and obviously the one treatment that appears to be holding up much better than the other treatments is the quick curb. So if for nothing else, some of what you've been sharing with me over the course of the last few months is, all but verified, because that's one of the things that I think probably should be considered in terms of blocking the shoulders, along various parts of 210 north of here, where, we've installed flex posts. One thing of note, though, is that if we move forward with putting in the quick curb treatment, it's likely that we're going to have to be very strategic in the way that we install those, and there won't be as many of those as there would be with the flex posts. The one thing of note, and I think kind of goes into what the officer was mentioning, is in regards to the traffic. And I would say that in general, the traffic is heavier, or appears to be, I don't know, more squirrely in the northbound direction from Swan Creek Road northward. In the evening, the traffic seems to get a little less and less the further south you go down. And so the one thing that I'm pleasantly surprised with seeing is that the flex posts on the shoulders along the southbound side between Swan Creek Road and Old Fort Road South are holding up fairly well. So it all depends on, so what I'm getting at is that people are most likely to use the shoulders when the congestion is at its heaviest. So so that's the, that one thing that, yeah, Ron, I noticed you had a point about using the speed camera revenue for, treatments like this. So that is something that I could raise with the people who can make those decisions as to how the money is allocated. What I do know is that come the next fiscal year, we'll have a replenishment of money, and we would be able to do some things that we're kind of running short on in terms of our, the money that's been allocated to us. So, but we're still looking at, we're making observations on what's happening on the section between 228 and the Charles County line, and we're going to have internal discussions about that, and make a determination on what adjustments can be made there, and continue to get feedback from Dr. France on that particular effort. So with that, I really don't, that's really all that I have to report on at this time.
Okay. Well, Peter, I want you to hold on too, because I know there's going to be some questions directed to you regarding the quick curves and the flex poles. There's been, as you probably know, there's been a lot of damage to them. We certainly there's a lot of discussion to go along with that, but I don't want to hold up the rest of the presentation for this point in the moment. We'll get back to you certainly in just a little bit. But I thank you, Peter, for for what you're doing, and also for what this study will hopefully give some insight into things that are happening on the highway, and I guess from the vantage point of where it falls in terms of averages and other roadways of our type, what are the things we need to learn about it. So, but anyway, Peter, thank you for reporting on that. Again, please hang around. We certainly will get to you
TD.
in just a little bit in terms of discussion. Um, I'd like to go now to our next presenter, Miss Katie Nash from the Genoptic Company, who is the company that will be the contractor who is taking over the speed cameras and on the Indian Head Highway. As we know, for those of us who were with us last time, Genoptic was selected by Prince George's County to be the current contractor in place for the speed cameras as of January 18th, I believe it was. And the cameras themselves are, as best I know, is about the best out there in terms of state of the art technology. I know that the big thing now is the interfacing of the cameras into to the system, and when we could expect to see them. So I would like to go to you, Ms. Nash, Ms. Katie Nash, and a Genoptic representative, and if you can fill us in on any insights or any new developments since the last time we talked, perhaps even get into some of the technological highlights that these cameras have. I know everyone may not have been on board last time when you were speaking to us. So if you can kind of, I guess, go from that perspective of kind of introducing the cameras and not just yourself, but introducing the cameras and let us kind of get a fresh overview of what they will bring to the Indian Head Highway community. And I guess most importantly, how is the interfacing transition going on that you can tell us anything of late that may have changed, or how far are we to being able to see the cameras themselves? So I'll turn it over to Ms. Katie Nash, representative for the Genoptic Camera Contractor firm.
Hi, good evening. I'm actually going to turn my camera off because I find that it flows a little better when my camera's off this evening. I'm not sure why, but so I am here, wanted to say hello, but I'll turn it off so just in case it gets spotty.
Okay.
So good evening. I'm glad to be here again, and just some highlights because we were here last month, and I'm hoping that this is my last month where I say, we're still working through the implementation process, but we are still working through the implementation process. We forecasted when we met with you last month, we forecasted we were hoping to be in the field by April, which would of course be next month. I have not been given any indication that that timeline is slipping. I do have my meeting internally with the county. That's on Tuesdays. So I'm hoping to get an update tomorrow. And if I hear of any sort of update that would require us to move that back, I'll email I'll email you, Reverend, and I'll make sure folks know that that's been updated. But as of right now, we're still on track to deploy in April. I'm hoping for a little bit more clarity about, is it early April, but late April, but you know how the government is, they April it is. And we are working also diligently. I reported last month that we were working on our new location. I was hoping to have that location to announce, that lease finalized, but we're still working through some of the legalities on that. But we will have a in-county location. And I shared last month that we will have, the ribbon cutting, and we will invite everyone here to come meet our technicians, see the equipment firsthand. Just be patient on that because we want to prioritize, of course, working with our county partners and those who make the decisions on allowing us to have the cameras up and running. We're prioritizing, getting the cameras back up. So that'll be the priority. And then, of course, having that ribbon cutting will be. But this group will be definitely invited, and I'll make sure you know about that. There was a question last month about the accuracy rate, and I wanted to go back and just make sure that I knew. I kept in my head saying that 99% number. The reason that 99% number, it's actually 98.75, I think is what I was told. But the reason that is so high is because the technology these days is basically almost taking, and I'm happy to get more clarity on this because it was explained to me once, and I'll share with you that I felt like I was like, I understood it when it was explained to me, but then as I'm sitting here explaining it to you, it's like, do I really have that? But essentially, it's basically taking the first image and then it sort of reads it against itself. It uses artificial intelligence to like make sure that it's correct. And if you're like me, you're struggling with understanding the implications of artificial intelligence. And whenever I hear artificial intelligence, I think, okay, like I think I know what it means, and then I'm sort of reading more and I get confused. But for all intents and purposes, I've been told that our accuracy rate is 98.75. And then the other highlight, just one of the things that we flagged last month, was the fact that the previous vendor had not been recording speeders above 89 miles per hour. And so we wanted to just make sure we continue to communicate that when our cameras do go live and those numbers shoot up, just be aware that that data had somewhat been skewed because perhaps we weren't ever tracking those outliers. Well, maybe not so many outliers, but let's say outliers for right now, folks who had been always at these consistently high speeds that were, of course, the most dangerous offenders. So those are sort of the top line summary items. I did just want to share, and I know Ron's going to probably give a legislative update, but just for the good of this body, and one of the other things I do for the program is I represent the program the best that I can in Annapolis, and so I work with lawmakers, and I know that we're gonna, as we continue, we're gonna deepen that work. I did receive an update from the chairman of the Environment and Transportation Committee that we will be looking at a bigger picture bill over the interim with respect to how speed cameras are considered. If you've been watching the 210 discussion, which I know you all are at the forefront of that, and you've been really sort of authoring the bills and authoring the legislation with respect to the advocacy in Annapolis, you'll notice that there are several provisions that you all have been working on that I think we've identified these step-by-step issues that we'd like to take. And I did get a commitment from him. This is the chairman of the committee, Mark Corman, that we could work on these issues holistically. The timing was a little rough because when we took over the contract, it was the beginning of January, and it was sort of, as you know, if you know Annapolis, much of the work is done before session begins. So we've been in conversations, and I just wanted to make sure I mention that because any of those conversations that I have, I feel like belong to the work of this committee, given the many years that you all have been working on this. So just wanted to sort of flag that. I'm going to write that up. It was a busy day in Annapolis today because it's crossover day. So I didn't get a chance to write up those notes because I had the conversation today with Chairman Corman, but I'll write those up for Mr. Weiss and Reverend Dr. Screen so that you have them, so that as we move into the next phase of the advocacy, you all have that. But just wanted to flag that because that was an update from today.
Well, we thank you so much for getting this feedback to us and getting us, I guess, the latest in terms of the transition period. It's good to know that April is still the target date for this area for the cameras to be deployed. And we're going to be looking forward to that, certainly looking forward to the, I guess, ribbon cutting ceremony on that as well. I know 210 Traffic Safety Committee certainly will be there. But thank you so much. And again, I know there are going to be many on the line tonight that probably want to ask you some questions. So if you can certainly hang around for that, as well as the other presenters. I want to, and so thank you so much, Kate. It's a wonderful presentation. I want to get into, I think, the heart of the matter, probably what most of you here on the line are probably wanting to know, and that is the status of the bill of HB 974. This was the bill that we have been promoting and uplifting here the last so many months, so much hard work, and not only in terms of our committee, but Delegate Valderrama, many other people behind the scenes, many of you in your support roles have vested yourself into this bill. And this bill we're speaking about has to do with the restructuring of the fine structure of what we have for the static $40 system as it is today. We were trying to get something that would be more in line with what a police officer that would pull someone over the road would have an elevated fine depending on the fact the speed that one was caught cited for. I'll put it that way. Let me just report, from my understanding, that bill has failed. the particulars in terms of why it has, I have personally very mixed emotions, and I think for most of the, I can speak frankly for most of the committee members, are probably feeling somewhat of the same way. All of us are disappointed. Certainly, it's not reflective of the work that has been put in to try to get it to pass. But I think we have Ms. Carol Colbert, who is the legislative aide for Delegate Valderrama, who's not able to be here with us tonight. I don't know, Carol, if you're able to speak on some of the insights of what you feel are the reasons that this bill did not pass. You can give us your insight as to what your read is, and also in terms of what lies ahead of us in terms of future. And I think Ms. Nash has given us a little bit of things that are kind of going on behind the scenes with the cameras, that portion of it. But Ms. Colbert, if you would be willing to give your insights, we certainly like to give you time to present how not only yourself, but Delegate Valderrama feels that the reasons for this bill not passing at this time in the legislative season here. What is it that you would like to tell us?
Well, I would like to start out by saying that Chris worked this bill very hard. And the fact that it failed, I think we're in a better place than we were when we started the session. But I do want to outline the people she spoke to. She spoke to the governor, the lieutenant governor, the governor's chief administrative lobbyist, the transportation staffer, the speaker's chief of staff, the chair of the ENT, the chair of the ENT transportation subcommittee, many members of the Charles County delegation, all of the members of Prince George's delegation. And she spoke to some of those people multiple times. So that is the lay of the land on what the work that was done to pass this legislation. What I think I don't think, I know, Delegate Love, who is the Transportation Subcommittee Chair, wrote Chris an email, and the reasons, because Chris had been back and forth with them saying, A, this is my top priority, B, this committee is a grassroots committee, it's, bottoms up, real deal kind of community organizing, and then that it was, her priority bill this year. Delegate Love returned the message saying, listen, we don't think that the data that you have on speeding, we think it's faulty because the speed cameras didn't work as they were told to us that they were working and as they were supposed to be working, which I know we are correcting, and that's a good thing. But she believed that they did not have data, independent variables that they could evaluate what the specific problem was. Delegate Love also said that she knew that they needed to raise the $40 fine, that she realized from Chris's testimony that it hadn't ever been raised, that it was 18 years old, that it was originally supposed to be $100, that it got knocked down to 40 during the legislative process, and she knows that that needs to be addressed. She then said that there needs to be a time, as Katie was just referring, that most of the work on legislation gets done before the legislative session, when people can think and reflect and, ask intelligent questions without having to run down the hall for a vote. I think that I take them at their word. I know they want to do this. I believe they're going to work on this. And I think they're going to involve this committee and Delegate Valderrama in their discussions. The other thing that I think is a question for the committee is how the accentuated fines, not the fines that track how the police department would ticket a particular offense, but how when someone does 2 within 2 years or 3 within, whatever that formula is going to be, that has never been implemented in Maryland anywhere. And that I know that it's in the governor's bill for the highway
Works on.
yeah, the worksite bill. And that will be an interesting thing. I don't know if it's going to stay in there, how it's going to be implemented. There were questions about whether we even have technology that is able to do that. I believe that we do, but again, it's a big unknown. It's how much does this cost? How reliably can we do this? And I think if the governor's bill goes forward, which I believe that it's going to, our arguments will be buttressed by their experience with that add-on fine. So that is the unfortunate story of HB 974. I honestly, I've been doing this for a long time, and if there was anything we had not done, I don't know what it is. And I think that one of the things that I found most inspiring is to see people from the committee actually come up to Annapolis. A huge, huge difference. And I hope that continues. So that's what I've got.
Yeah, well, Carol, we thank you for your accurate report, and we know that both you and Delegate Valderrama and your roles have not spared any energy or effort to try to push this across the finishing line. I would just like to add one thing that kind of gets, I guess, perplexing to me. It seems that for those of you who don't know, Governor Moore has put, I guess, together a bill, as best I know it. Please correct me for those of you who may know different. Has a bill that is designed for the work zone. And for those of us who've been following, I guess, the latest news in the last year or so, we know that there was a terrible tragedy that occurred near Baltimore in work zone, where I think it was 6 individuals were killed, workers were killed behind the barriers that were there. But nevertheless, vehicle went airborne and went into the work zone, and unfortunately, 6 of them, I believe, were killed. And so there's a bill that the governor is putting forth. Basically, from what I understand, it has many of the similar model aspects of the bill that we have tried to put together. His bill is going through seemingly seemingly it's going to get passed. And so it's a little perplexing to know that, some of the questions that have come in our direction in terms of recidivism and structure and fines and that sort of thing, why it works one or not the other. I know there's some particulars that are distinctive between the two, but in general speaking, there seem to be a lot of similarities too. But anyway, Carl, thank you for that presentation. I have some things that I would like to say, but first of all, I would like to reserve the questions for all the presenters, for you in the audience. This is your time to question and ask the questions to our presenters. I just have a feeling that there are many, particularly when it comes to this bill. So I'd just like to open it up to our audience right now. for those of you who would like to question. I see Mr. Dwayne Bowie has his hand up. And so, Mr. Bowie, if you can, we'll turn it over to you.
Sure, I had a couple of questions. One for the first officer. The question.
Lieutenant Ruiz?
Sorry,
Was
sorry,
it
can you-
Lieutenant Ruiz?
yeah, yes.
Okay. Excuse me.
All right, let's go back to the last one. And this is regards to how many the cameras that are going to be deployed. Are they deploying all that we've been legally allowed to? Because I can remember if it was 6 or 10 that'll be happening in April. And are they still mobile? And then she also mentioned there's some legalities she's facing. What are those legalities she's facing of why there may be a delay or two?
No, are you directing that to Ms. Nash, or who are you directing that question to?
It was Ms. Nash.
Okay.
So quick answer is yes, we're going to deploy as many that we can, but we just have to, so there's a process that we have to go through with our local partners to have that smooth transition. And we're going through, that's what we're doing right now. It's not I wouldn't say it's a legality. We're already approved to start that process, but we have to, it's like anything else. It's a safety issue. So you want to make sure that they're, deployed safely, that we have permission to have them there, all that stuff. We're going through that now. So that's why it's not as simple as switching them out. There's a process. I can, yeah.
Yeah, I was just trying to, I guess from my understanding, I thought we had the ability to deploy across all of 210, but you're sounding like there are some places you can or cannot deploy along 210.
Yeah, we have to get permission before, but the locations, there's no reason to think that it's not going to be granted. It's just that, and that was something that we talked about in our last meeting. I was saying that, from our perspective, we are prioritizing 210, but that's not really my call, because ultimately I don't have the authority to grant where the cameras are placed, if that makes sense. But we've been given every assurance that yes, we are moving forward as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you. And I think it was for Officer Ryan. My question was, I remember in my notes from last week or last month, there was supposed to be another joint effort for March 26th, but now you're saying the next one will be April 23rd. Is the March 26th one scrapped?
Correct. We won't be having one this month, and I don't know exactly what transpired or with MSP, because I know we would be available, at least we would have some individuals available to participate, but I'm not sure if maybe MSP has some prior commitments come up that we weren't aware of. So our next enforcement won't be until, what I think I said, April 23rd.
And thank you very much. I saw a lot of the feedback also from everything. It looked like it was a very successful joint adventure. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I believe I have Herb Jones has his hand up.
Yes, good evening, everyone. A couple of quick questions. Ms. Nash, how are you this evening? I'm excited about hearing your presentation. Already heard your presentation. I've heard it before. I had a couple of questions. You talked about accuracy being about 98.75. So your cameras have been deployed in other jurisdictions similar to Prince George's County in size and scope. And could you just name a few of those jurisdictions?
Yeah, so I'm not in Maryland. I'd
Okay.
have to, I think we talked about last time, we have been the supplier. So if you've heard of the brand Vera Mobility has been using our cameras. And so about 2 years ago, Genoptic made the decision to kind of come out and hire people like me to direct sell rather than be a supplier. So, but if you look at Vera Mobility in general, you'll see Genoptic cameras.
Okay. And you also talked about the transition. During your transition period, will there be any interaction with you guys and the former contractor?
So I don't know why there would be. I can't say that I'm against it. I think the former contractor stopped, there was always gonna be a period where they had to stop and we had to start. And so that period of time was always gonna be, you know, we're trying to minimize that amount of time as much as possible. But that's, you know, as you know, that's gonna be any vendor, any service, right? There's always gonna be that sort of period of time that they need to have time to pull their equipment out. And I'm just trying to think, if there's anything that we've run across where we would need anything from them, because the police they've had all of the reporting that we need to provide. They've been sort of giving us that direction directly. So it hasn't come up yet. I'm always happy to reach out to anybody, but honestly, we haven't had a need yet to have that coordination.
Thank you for that. I just had one follow-up with Peter, my favorite state official. So Peter, good evening.
I'm
gonna
glad
ask-
I'm your favorite.
Yeah. Well, you're the one I know.
Okay. I like your first answer better.
So I'm gonna ask you, and you probably know what I'm gonna ask. Peter, we have to address this lighting issue as we're coming off Woodrow Wilson Bridge, taking that first.
Excuse me, Herb, your voice, your volume has dropped completely off.
Oh, I'm sorry. What about now?
It's
We-
better.
It's better.
Is that, oh, okay.
is-
Okay, hold on, let me, yeah. What about now? Is that better?
Yes, okay.
Okay, great. I'm sorry. The lighting issue, Peter, as we come off 210, we come past the facility, MGM, it is still dark. And I just need to ask you, what is going on with the lighting? What is the problem? And I really, I really need some answers because it is dark. And when it rains, you can barely see the striping. I know the last time you said once they finished some work, they were going to complete the striping, but it's an accident waiting to happen as you come off 210. The lighting is terrible for the first mile as you come off the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, taking that first exit, going by the MGM. We have to address that. And I'm thinking, is the state concerned about our safety down here? And I have to say that. I say that with all due respect, because it's been like this almost since I've been down here. I've been down here 6 years. I moved down here 6 years ago, and it's still the same. I haven't seen any improvement. So I'm not asking for a response. When we see you next month, I'll ask you the same question and see where we are. But has to be a high priority, because we're talking about 210 safety. One safety feature is we have to have.
Whoops.
Yeah, I said one of the issues that we have to have lighting. We have to have lighting. We're talking about safety. Lighting is a key criteria for safe travel. We have to have it, we don't. And we deserve it.
Yeah, you're still kind of dropping low, Herb.
So are you
Volume.
talking about that section from I-295 to 210?
Yeah, as you're coming off the Woodrow Wilson Bridge from Virginia, you take that first exit, the 210 exit, and you're coming off the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, you come down 210. Yes, that area, that mile or so. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That.
Added safety value is those big trucks parked there also.
Yeah,
I think that's what.
And
Right.
yeah, we know about the trucks. We're trying to address that now with putting in the no parking signs. We've sent, we've notified our maintenance crew to handle that. I don't know when exactly they're going to install it, but it is a high priority. And right now they kind of they've been a little sidetracked because of the Operation Clean Sweep, which started today. At the same time, I'm going to contact. I want to see who I can contact about the lighting, and unfortunately, that's something that's that I need to
I mean, is there
information
somebody
that's on.
that this committee needs to talk to? I mean, directly, and I'm not, I'm not, you know.
You can, no, because it's,
Somebody
because
else.
actually I'm the go-between.
Okay,
So, just to put that in, just to put that out
okay,
there.
okay, no, understood.
So, Justin Sosby is, my counterpart in maintenance. You can,
Well, you know what, let's scrap that. We'll continue to work for you, but can you please put it on this agenda so next month
yes,
we'll have, okay, what is the status? Is the lights not working? Are they out? What is going on? Because it's been entirely too long, Peter, quite honestly. I don't know
I
how else
know.
to say it to you.
I
Okay?
know.
All right. Okay, thank you as always.
Okay. Well, thank you for that enlightenment, and also Peter for your going to handle this. Because I know Herb has been speaking about this for some time.
Oh,
And
yeah, I know.
yeah, I had noticed it of late, but I know it needs to be addressed. Like to go to Miss J.L. Huggins.
Hi, yes, I guess my question is for both the leadership of this committee and as well as the Carol, I think Colbeth is the representative from Delegate Valderrama's office, if you can hear me okay.
Yes,
Um,
yes, you can.
So this is not the first year of the bill, and I'm kind of new to this whole conversation. I'm also aware that sometimes bills take years to get passed. But where did we come up with the formula for increasing the fines? Number one. Number two, was this the first time the committee questioned the data to be used? And number three, why don't we do more of a grassroots like outreach to the community? Because the fine really, if no one's driving 100 miles an hour, they just won't get the fine. So I tried to reach out to you, Dr. Screen, and Ron Wise. I gave you a tool you could use to have people generate emails, but I never heard back from you. So if you could give me more history about how did we get to this point, that would be helpful.
Well, I'll try to give you a summation on the part that the committee's involved in. We've been going at the speed camera issue and the speeding, I guess in the entirety 7 years that we have been up and running. We have engaged, I think, Ron, correct me, is about 11 different civic associations and HOAs on the matter, had petitions signed from them. In this particular effort of late, HB 974, we worked with one of the churches here that's not quite in this area, but also shared our concern, Central Baptist Church, that had I think a coalition of about 30 churches that they work with. And we had, I think, in number of petitions signed by them on our behalf to go to this bill. There's about 15 pages if I have the correct number, somewhere in that vicinity. So we have actually, I mean, I don't know who would not know about 210 and anyhow, how, I mean, 210 Traffic Safety Committee. We've been, going at it for a while and making it known to as many that would have interest in it. I'm sure there are other avenues to kind of plaster the knowledge of what we do. There's always going to be that part. But as far as I know, I just invite Ron Weiss is on the line to chime in on anything that in terms of other areas that we have invested in terms of making known our efforts to try to get speeding down. I mean, Ron has an active blog with all of the, I guess, since we've been the inception of this committee, I don't know how many media interviews we've had on all of the major stations through the 7 years that we've been up and running. So this is something that, I mean, I don't know who would not know that. For those who would be interested in following, our efforts, we've been very visible. We've been very trying to be inclusive to any of those that share our cause. I don't know if that answers your question, but Ron, do you have anything that you'd like to add in terms of what has been put out to the public about what we've been doing?
Well, we've had meetings every month for 7 years, and we invite everybody to come to the meetings.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean like the whole committee. I'm really talking about like at a point where we know our elected officials have to vote. That's when you inundate them with emails and letter writing campaigns, like the timing of this. So I'm just not clear whether that happened this year and can we get like a better head start next year, because it feels like the state reps are not taking us seriously, because those questions that the delegates staff member raised have nothing to do with whether the fine should be increased. Like it just was like, prove to me people are speeding. Well, if people aren't speeding, then no one will get that increased fine. So what do you care? Just increase the fine. So it just feels like, I know you guys all volunteer your time and have been working on this for 7 years, but I think, I offered to help and no one responded to me. But I think if we had some kind of time, like if we knew exactly the timing ahead of time, could we demand meetings with the head of the chair people of these committees that, like what do we need to do in a timely manner to let folks know in the state that it's not just the members of this committee who are concerned, but this is like everybody in the community have complained about the speed and the danger on 210.
Okay, well, we have a list of, I think 11 communities that support it, representing 5,000 families. We've had, Reverend Screen has gotten petitions from churches to support it. We've talked about providing testimony in support of the bill in the last several monthly meetings. I've had 3 tutorial Zoom meetings on how to do that. We send out emails on how to go through the test, registering to be to put in testimony. We've done quite a bit on trying to get people to submit testimony and to come to.
I think, Ron, I think
we've even had a bus available to bring people to Annapolis, and right.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think Ron, she's speaking of our engagement with the legislators. If I heard you correctly, Ms. Huggins, is that where you're?
Yes, and right before, like I get the petition in the long, in the petitions that have been done in the past, memory gets lost. It's what I did for you guys is I set up a link that if someone clicked on it, it was already it already contained each member of the committee's email address and a stocked message that the person could edit themselves, and then all they would have to do is press send, and it would go to every member of the committee. And if we could do that in a time, like if you could send it to all the people who signed the petitions and each one of them could send an email, imagine the feeling that these state delegates would get instead of like instead of like in addition to the petition. Like I think everything you're doing is wonderful. I'm just wondering if there's if we can plan for a little bit more grassroots, more social media where people we set people up to make their direct message to the state. Because I don't want you guys to feel defensive. I think you guys are doing such a wonderful job. I just want to compliment it.
Well, we sound like we want to get you in the fold of things, but I want to get to Brother Herb and Miss Sandra Hall. I think they want to add into your answering your questions. So if I can, Ms. Huggins, if I can turn it over to Herb and then Miss Sandra Hall and then others that like to chime in.
Yeah, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Dr. Screen, before Herb goes on, Ms. Huggins is talking about a software platform called Action Network,
Mm-hmm.
and there may be others.
I'm not. Actually, it's simpler than that.
Okay, well, there's one called Action Network that does exactly the same thing that we may be able to use next time, but thank you.
Mm-hmm. Herb?
Oh, yeah, so just very quickly, and thank you for those observations and recommendations. Huggins, you're absolutely right. What I heard was you talking about strategy and timing, and that is so critical. That is very critical. This is my first time experiencing the Annapolis, and you're absolutely right. There's a timing to this, there's a strategy, there's that interaction, both email, but also personal interaction with the leadership. Okay, because from my perspective, there was a lot of misinformation that I think a lot of the leaders had up there, from my perspective. Not a criticism, just an observation. And I think earlier interaction is going to be beneficial to our success next time around. So I concur. Thank you. This is a strategy.
Okay. Ms. Hall, I think you had your hand up.
Yes, I think Ms. Huggins has come up with some excellent suggestions, and that's exactly what we did. Was the timing. We got these letters together. We sent them out to the community. I'm not sure who your civic association president is, so that they could send it out to their listserv to send these letters that were already populated. As you said, we can tweak them accordingly. We did that before they went to session so that we could get them before that happened. So yeah, we were pretty much on it just as you suggested. And that's what makes it so disappointing, because we just work just that much harder to try to get ahead of the train versus trying to catch the train as it's going down the track. So if you will.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
I'm not in a neighborhood with a civic association, but that's great to know.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Well, Ms. Huggins, we definitely want to, to take advantage of the suggestions that you're making and your effort that you want to put in. We certainly want to get as much involvement for for someone like you that wants to, put your hat in the ring, so to speak, to, get things done. So
Yeah.
I tell you what, if you
I've
can,
emailed you a couple of times.
okay, can you do it one more time?
Sure.
Give me one more time, and let's kind of go from there. And what I'll do is put in a good time that I can talk to you, that we can converse over this, and
Great.
kind of go from there in your email. If you can do that, and I'll touch base with you as soon as you allow me to do that.
I will. Sorry. Thank you so much.
Mhm. Okay, are there any other comments, questions to our presenters, or any other comments that anyone would like to make over the evening? Things said over the evening? Yes, Dion Buffalo.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Is Lieutenant Ruiz still on?
He's still on, yes.
Okay. I think it's great, of course, to have the joint effort between the county and Maryland State Highway Patrol doing the blitz on 210. I mean, that's wonderful. The numbers are impressive. So my question is, what type of police enforcement in terms of issuing citations occur outside of these joint efforts? Specifically, is Prince George's County doing any ticketing outside of the joint efforts? And is the Maryland State Police doing any ticketing on 210 outside of the joint efforts?
Well, I can't speak for Maryland State Police and what they do and how they're deployed, but for us, for the county police department, officers tend to pull traffic on a routine basis. If they see a violation and they're not en route to another call, they'll do traffic enforcement. And our special operations division, they also several times a month will have their traffic units or their motor units out there doing traffic enforcement as well.
Okay, so some does occur. Because
Yes.
I think of course, people saying a big blitz is always great, but I think in between times, these speeders need to get used to, well, there could always be some type of presence of a police officer issuing tickets, and I think that has its benefits as well.
Yeah, well, in this case, this still has its benefits because they don't know when we're gonna do it, and we're gonna
Sure.
try to see if we can make it a little more, maybe more regular, maybe once or twice a month, depending on staffing. But as I said earlier in the conference call here, that the agency's going to a different shift plan. So right now, when we have our additional, you could say, enforcement days that are available to us, which are called overlap days, with the new shift plan due to staffing, we're going to 12-hour shifts. So we will know it'll eliminate those overlap days that we used to have.
Right. Okay, thank you. And so the last part, Reverend Dr. Screen, on the same subject, I know there's a memorandum of understanding or agreement between the county and the state. It's a state highway, but policing authority was given to the county, but the county. So what is the status of all that? And it just seems like the state highway just has our hands off about it, other than the joint efforts. So what's the status of who's responsible? Is there anything being done to make that more concrete and establish who's responsible?
You've hit the nerve on that one. This has been something we have since our very inception have gone after in terms of the MOU, which was written in the year 2000, which is 24 years old, which put basically Prince George's County as having primary jurisdiction over the state road. I believe it's been an update of some type, but it doesn't. I don't believe what has been written up really gives the concrete kind of how can I say looked at or operational function that we were looking for. I mean, personally, I was looking for more of a joint effort sharing between both Prince George's County and state highway. Reason being, both enforcement agencies are really struggling with their personnel numbers. State highway has been hurt for a very long time. If we would have turned everything over to, I mean, just hypothetically, if everything were to turn over to state highway, we probably wouldn't see very much of any enforcement at all. They're just that thin. And Prince George's County, my understanding is probably not, it's a close second to that in many ways. So we just happen to be in a season where personnel is low, but activity of things that are happening on the highway. And I think the numbers that we got on the joint effort, when you talk about 130 stops, 71 citations, and 162 warnings within a period of the active period of both of them working together, somewhere around 4.5 hours. That's a lot. That shows you what's going on in between the cameras or outside of the cameras every day on this highway. It's a lot to be going on. So we really need. I think the last time we actually had a joint effort, it's probably going around about 5 years now. That happened, and so we need more of the same. It's just how do we get there? And we have not. Well, I tell you what, I don't know how many letters I wrote to Larry Hogan on this matter, as well as last year writing to Governor Moore. But it always seems to just drop in the bucket of oblivion. And so it's still a passion in our hearts to have it fixed as best we can. And so we're going to continue to plug away as a committee to try to find a workable answer to it. But it just seems to be one of those things that's just hard to wrap your arms around. I think Ron Weiss had his. I don't know if that answers all of your question, Mr. Buffalo.
It did. Thank you both.
Okay. Ron, you had your hand up, Ron Weiss.
Yeah, I wanted to add just a couple of things to that discussion there. That Prince George's County Police are at least down 20% of their authorized staffing. Our Division 7 happens to be, Division 7 happens to be the safest part of Prince George's County. So the staffing for police goes to the stations that have more crime than we do. So our police station is more understaffed than the average police station. Their highest priority is to respond to 911 calls and to protect property and businesses and lives. Traffic enforcement is when they're not doing those things or training or out sick or on vacation. So traffic enforcement on 210 is doesn't get the priority that it deserves, in my view. So that's why we've been pushing speed cameras, is because we don't have the people to do what we would like to have done, like happened in the joint enforcement. That's great. Speed cameras don't stop cars and find marijuana, for example. They don't stop people from drinking while driving or any other hazardous driving behavior. But speed cameras can slow down traffic and save lives, and we're doing what we can to fill in the gaps for what the police just don't have the staffing to do. So you talked about the MOU, the original MOU signed in the year 2000, assigned 210 traffic enforcement to Prince George's County. And we've been pushing for 7 years to change that. And unbeknownst to the committee, the police department and state police modified or amended the MOU in July of 2022, and added this sentence. The Prince George's County Police Department has primary responsibility for MD Route 210, but the Maryland State Police and the Prince George's County Police Department will conduct joint traffic safety operations on Maryland Route 210 to address community concerns. So this amendment is addressing the concerns that this committee has expressed all these years. And so as a result of that, I believe we had this joint operation that we've just been reporting. And we may get more, but we had to push for it very hard, and it's been a long time coming. That's a
long time coming.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ron. Are there any other questions, comments anyone would like to make?
Hey, Reverend Screen, this is Calvin Hawkins. I just wanted
Calvin,
to say,
yes, sir. Thank
I
you.
just wanted to say that what you all have shown, not just with this effort, but just period, what citizens can do when they remain organized and remain persistent about something that impacts not just your direct, but the state of Maryland in general.
Well, Calvin Hawkins, I want to properly introduce you and also and thank you for being on the line. Audience, Calvin Hawkins is our at-large council person who's been so much instrumental in also adding his weight, his finger on the scales of trying to get this bill on HB 974 passed. His effort has been astounding in many ways in the background, but each one, all of his efforts have been critically important in our in our thrust to get this bill passed. So I just wanted to make sure that our audience knows that this is Calvin Hawkins, our at-large council person for Prince George's County Council. And also to say that when we had our meeting on December 20th, the press conference meeting we had at Harmony Hall, He was able to bring in the county exec as well to put her finger on the scale of pushing through. So there have been many people in this county who have been pushing as well as yourselves in support of this bill. And that's why I guess it stings pretty sharp when, you know, unfortunately that we did not get it passed with all the effort that was put forth. But we are certainly going to continue forth. I think Carolyn Culvers has given us some things that give us some hope for the future. But here's the thing. I think we, instead of bringing a hammer to the table, we need to bring a sledgehammer and make our thrust known, even on a larger scale, for our efforts for the future. I really, I'm somewhat just really bothered that this joint effort that we had reported here tonight, showing what's going on in the highway outside of the cameras. Cameras only have a limited function, as important as they are, and that, without question, they're critically important. But we also need more of them, and we need what we're getting in terms of the more accuracy of the new technologies that are with the new cameras forthcoming. I see a hand from Ms. Sandra Hall. I want to make sure I get to you, Sandra, in your question or presentation, or what it is that you would have for us.
Yeah, I wanted to just thank Councilman Hawkins for helping us to get to Annapolis. He provided a luxurious bus to get
Yes.
there and back. And I want to thank him wholeheartedly for making that happen. And then I want to also thank Reverend Stephanie Bynum, who coordinated getting those in the community on the bus to Annapolis to testify. So
Yes.
thank you.
Yes. Yes, there's just a lot of individual effort, energy that went forth into this, and so we cannot allow this failure to be our last word. We have to push forward. We just have to do it with a stronger thrust, and hopefully, as was mentioned earlier, our strategy and tactics have to be, I guess, more in the timing phase of what we need to do long before they go to the next General Assembly. And that's one of the things I'll just let you the audience know. We would like to have a meeting with some of the principals that made this decision that from the subcommittee. That's one of our intents from this from 210 Traffic Safety Committee. And also looking forward to have some type of closure in a, hopefully after the meeting, to have some type of press conference that also that gives, again, overall knowledge, because I think some of the reporters I've been contacted by want to know the outcome of what happened. So there's interest on just more than a local area, but also from our media sources as well. So that's kind of where we're looking at in the future. We're not going to lay still for what we have, this immediate answer, but we're going to continue to push forward and hopefully use all our resources as we have this past time, which is greater thrust, better timing, and more intensity for the future. Are there any other questions or comments that we need to make before we close down tonight? Okay. Looks like our next meeting will be, guess what, on tax day, April 15th, Monday, April 15th. So that should be something that we can probably stick in our minds in terms of a date. But I want to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart. And I know that I speak also from every member of the 210 Traffic Safety Committee. All of you who have given your not just your interest and your presence on these meetings every third Monday, but also the letter writing you've done. I'm certainly going to get with Ms. Huggins and certainly bring her into the the effort of what we're putting together. And any of you that also want to be a part of this. This is our neighborhood, ladies and gentlemen. This is our main street. This is what we have to live with day by day. This is 46 years my wife and I have been down here as adults, in this neighborhood, 31 down here in Akakeep, 15 in Fort Washington. I've seen it from one level of reality to what it is now. And believe me, it's been a quantum leap between one to the other. So I believe each of you, as myself, my family, we have concern every time we get on the highway. It should not be that way. We pay taxes for safety. We pay taxes for civility. But we know there's a lot of things that get in the way of that. Things just don't work in the rightness of things. You have to make it right. And so you all have shown that you're willing to be a part of that, making things right. So we're going to continue to use our momentum that we've had here tonight over the past so many months in this effort. We're going to continue to roll this snowball down the hill and collect some more, let the snowball get larger. So when we go into the day of the General Assembly next year, we have hopefully things in place for nothing less than victory and success. I believe we have that with us, your efforts, your energy, your passion, your time, all of that, and all of that what we have put forth, we're going to put it to good use and get this bill passed. And so I pray that each of you between now and the next 30 days that we have our meeting, please be safe. Please be conscious of what goes on around you. But most of all, just please stand on the safe side of things as best as you can for yourself and for your families. And I believe with our extra effort in being safe, we can be an examples, each one of us as individuals to the community about us, that this is how you do it in being a safe person, a safe driver on this road of 210. So God bless each one of you. Be safe, be blessed, and we hope to see you on the 15th. Amen?
Amen. Thank you.
Amen.
Okay.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.